The mortgage officer slid the approval letter across the desk. Tyler and his wife stared at the number. $400,000. That was the maximum they qualified for on their combined household income. The most house the bank was willing to fund with their financials. They bought the $400,000 house. It checked every box on the list they had built over 3 years of looking. 4 bedrooms, 2-car garage, finished basement, good school district. The monthly payment was tight in year 1, but manageable on the trajectory they expected. Their parents told them it was the smart call. Their realtor told them they were maximizing their investment. Andre got the same approval letter from a different lender the same week. He and his wife also qualified for $400,000. They toured homes in that range. They built a list. They made a decision their realtor argued against. They bought a $250,000 house in the same school district, 3 streets over, and set up an automatic monthly transfer of the payment difference directly into a brokerage account. 30 years later, Tyler is not broke. He has a paid-off home worth over $1.3 million. He retired comfortably. What he does not have is the $835,000 that Andre's investment account built on the money Tyler spent keeping the bigger house running. Here's the thing. The bank is not your financial advisor. The approval letter tells you the maximum they will lend you, not the amount you should borrow. Those are 2 different numbers, and the gap between them is the most expensive number in the decision. The setup. Both men are 33 when they close on their homes. Both earn approximately $120,000 a year combined. Both have stable employment, low existing debt, and 20% ready for a down payment. Tyler and his wife buy the $400,000 house. Their down payment is $80,000. Their mortgage is $320,000 at 7% interest for 30 years. A monthly payment of approximately $2,129 in principal and interest. Add property tax at 1.25% of home value, homeowner's insurance, and the average annual maintenance cost on a 4-bedroom home, and Tyler's true all-in monthly housing cost is approximately $2,950. Andre and his wife buy the $250,000 house. Their down payment is $50,000. Their mortgage is $200,000 at 7% for 30 years. A monthly payment of approximately $1,331. Their total monthly cost, including tax, insurance, and maintenance, is approximately $1,800. The gap between their monthly housing costs is approximately $1,150 per month. Annualized, that is approximately $14,000 per year. Andre invests that $14,000 every year into a low-cost total market index fund. He sets up the automatic transfer before the first mortgage payment clears. The houses are in the same school district, 3 streets apart. Similar lot sizes, both well-maintained. The primary differences are square footage, bedroom count, and the monthly cost of owning them. Andre's house has 3 bedrooms. His 2 children share a room until the younger one leaves for college. He considers this within normal range. Tyler considers it out of the question. Tyler's housing math. Tyler's mortgage runs for 30 years. Over the life of the loan at 7%, his total principal and interest payments are approximately $766,000, more than double the $320,000 he borrowed, because of how interest works in a standard amortization schedule. In year 1, Tyler makes 12 monthly payments totaling $25,548. Of that amount, roughly the $22,300 goes to interest, and approximately $3,200 goes toward reducing principal. At the end of year 1, Tyler owes $316,800. He has spent $25,548 and owns $3,200 more of his house than he did in January. This is not unusual. It is how mortgages are designed. The interest charges are highest in the early years when the balance is largest. By year 10, the balance is approximately $262,000. Tyler has made about $255,000 in cumulative payments. Of that, roughly $190,000 was interest. The house has appreciated. At 4% per year, a $400,000 home is worth approximately $592,000 by year 10. Tyler has built equity. It does not feel like a slow process because the home value growth is visible. The interest cost is invisible. At year 30, the mortgage is retired. Tyler's house has appreciated to approximately $1,297,000. His home equity is the full value. He paid $766,000 in mortgage payments, approximately $150,000 in property tax, $60,000 in homeowner's insurance, and $120,000 in maintenance over 30 years. A total housing outlay of approximately $1.1 million on a $400,000 purchase. He received a $1.3 million asset in return. Here's the thing. The $1.3 million is real. It is also illiquid. It generates no cash flow. Tyler can access it by selling his home, taking a reverse mortgage, or borrowing against it. He cannot draw on it the way Andre draws on his index fund, monthly on his own schedule without selling anything. Andre's investment math. Andre's mortgage runs the same 30 years. His total principal and interest payments are approximately $479,000 on the $200,000 loan. At year 30, his house has appreciated to approximately $810,000 at 4% annual growth. His home equity at 63 is $810,000, real, paid off, and his. Andre also has a second account. He has always had a second account. From the month he closed on his house, he transferred $14,000 per year, the annualized cost gap between his housing expenses and Tyler's, into a total market index fund. He did not try to time the market. He did not pick individual stocks. He purchased a fund with an expense ratio of 0.03% and set the reinvestment to automatic. At 7% average annual return, $14,000 per year invested for 30 years grows to approximately $1,322,000. But here's what. Andre did not earn more than Tyler. He did not make a single investment call that Tyler could not have made. He did not save a higher percentage of his income across the full 30-year period. He deployed the same dollars Tyler deployed, just into an account that compounds instead of a structure that maintains. Andre's total picture at 63. $810,000 in home equity plus $1,322,000 in his investment account. Total, $2,132,000. Tyler's total, $1,297,000 in home equity. The gap is $835,000. That is the 30-year cost of the approval letter decision. $150,000 in additional home price, compounded into the gap that cannot be unwound. The real cost of bigger. The $835,000 gap between Tyler and Andre is not a function of investment skill, income difference, or financial sophistication. It is a function of one variable: how much money ran through housing costs above the baseline each year. Every dollar that flows through housing, mortgage interest, property tax, insurance, maintenance, leaves the equation permanently. It does not compound. It does not grow. It pays for the use of a structure and the right to continue owning it. Housing costs are consumption, not investment, even when the underlying asset appreciates. Andre's $250,000 house also appreciated. 4% annual growth on $250,000 is not as large as 4% on $400,000, but the $14,000 per year that did not go to housing went into an account that also grew. And it grew without the carrying cost of property tax, insurance, and maintenance reducing the return each year. Here's the thing. Real estate appreciates on gross value, not on your equity or your down payment. Both Tyler and Andre received the full benefit of appreciation proportional to their home value. The only difference is that Andre captured the spread between his cost and Tyler's and redirected it into a compounding account every month for 30 years. That redirection is the $835,000 gap. The bigger house did not build Tyler's wealth. It consumed the money that would have built it, spread invisibly across 12 monthly payments and several annual bills that all felt like ordinary household expenses. The lifestyle escalation. There is a secondary effect that does not appear in the mortgage calculation. The neighborhood of $400,000 house places a family in carries a social and economic context. The surrounding homes are expensive. The neighbors are in a similar income bracket. The norms around vacations, vehicles, activities, and renovations reflect the spending patterns of that environment. Tyler's family is surrounded by other families also running near the top of their qualification. The lifestyle standard calibrates to that ceiling naturally without anyone deciding it should. Andre's neighborhood is 3 streets over. The school district is identical. He verified this before making an offer. His commute is the same length. His children attend the same schools as Tyler's children. The lifestyle gap between the two families, measured in day-to-day activities, is essentially zero. And here's the part. The primary measurable difference in their lives is that Tyler's house has a finished basement and an extra bedroom. The financial difference is $835,000 at retirement. The question every buyer should ask before accepting the bank's number is not whether they can afford the bigger house. The bank has already answered that. The question is what the square footage premium costs them across 30 years of carrying costs, property taxes, and compounding foregone, and whether the answer changes anything about what they choose to do. What the bank is actually telling you. The pre-approval letter is a lending instrument. It is not a financial plan, a recommendation, or a signal that the maximum represents a wise purchase. The bank's qualification formula is calibrated to the point at which the majority of borrowers can service the debt without defaulting. The standard threshold, typically 28% of gross income toward principal, interest, tax, and insurance, is derived from historical default data. It identifies where lender risk exposure becomes acceptable. It does not identify where borrower wealth building is optimized. The loan officer across the desk is compensated on loan volume. The real estate agent is compensated on transaction value. The title company is paid a fee proportional to the sale price. Every participant in the transaction has a financial incentive aligned with the buyer spending more. No participant in the transaction is compensated for helping the buyer invest the difference. But here's what. This is not a conspiracy. It is a structure. And the people in that room are doing their jobs within it. They are not obligated to run the compound interest math on the gap between maximum approval and a right-sized purchase. That is not their product. But it is your money. The decision happens once at 33 and then runs for 30 years without amendment. When bigger is right. There are circumstances under which buying toward the top of a pre-approval produces the better 30-year outcome. If the lower price point requires a materially worse school district, one with documented underperformance or safety issues that would generate private school costs, the savings disappear into tuition and the comparison changes. If the neighborhood at the lower price point carries higher maintenance risk through structural or infrastructure issues, the maintenance assumptions shift. If the local market has a demonstrably different appreciation trajectory at different price points, the 30-year numbers tilt accordingly. If the household income is on an aggressive upward trajectory, the housing cost that represents 30% of gross income at 33 may represent 15% at 43. Buying ahead of income growth is a legitimate strategy in a rising income environment. The calculation simply requires projecting the actual trajectory, not assuming it. Here's the thing. These are exceptions that require verification, not defaults that allow the buyer to skip the math. The standard outcome, same school district, same neighborhood quality tier, 30 years of compound growth, consistently favors the right-sized house by a margin that demands a specific and quantifiable counter-argument to overcome. Most buyers assume they have that counter-argument. Most buyers have not verified it. 3 things. The housing decision comes down to 3 numbers most buyers never calculate before signing. First, the true annual cost of the house, not just the mortgage payment. On a $400,000 home at 7% over 30 years, the mortgage payment is approximately $2,129 per month. Property tax adds approximately $417. Homeowner's insurance adds approximately $167. Maintenance adds approximately $333. The true monthly cost is approximately $3,046, more than 50% higher than the mortgage payment alone. On a $250,000 home, the same calculation produces approximately $1,900 per month. The gap between these two numbers is $1,146 per month. That is the investable spread. Most buyers see only the mortgage payment when they decide. Second, the compound value of that annual spread over the mortgage term. $14,000 per year, the annualized version of the gap, invested at 7% annual return for 30 years, produces approximately $1,322,000. That number does not require additional income, investment skill, or any financial behavior beyond redirecting the monthly gap into an index fund. The math produces it automatically. The only prerequisite is that the gap exists, which it does whenever a buyer purchases below their maximum approval. Third, the approval letter is a ceiling, not a target. The bank qualified Tyler for $400,000 because it calculated that he could service the debt without defaulting, not because $400,000 optimizes his retirement. Whether spending to the ceiling is the right call for the borrower depends on what the borrower values more: the additional space now, or the compounding spread over 30 years. Both are legitimate choices. Only one of them shows up in the retirement account. Here's the thing. Andre did not sacrifice his family's quality of life to build $835,000 more than Tyler. He bought a house that met his family's actual needs in the same school district, 3 streets over, and invested the rest. That is the complete strategy. The close. Tyler's house is paid off. His family grew up in it. His children launched from it. He does not regret the neighborhood or the space. The house was worth owning. He also knows the number now, the $835,000 that Andre's account accumulated while Tyler's mortgage ran. He learned it at 63 on the same practice field sideline where they had coached youth soccer 30 years earlier. He did not rerun the decision. He restructured what remained, maxed his 401k contributions, cut the discretionary spending that had normalized in the expensive neighborhood, and stopped treating the home equity as evidence that the housing decision had been optimal. Andre sold his house last year. The proceeds went into the same brokerage account where 30 years of monthly index fund contributions had been compounding. His mortgage was already gone. He and his wife moved into a smaller place, no debt, and a very large account. The smaller place is 3 streets from Tyler's old neighborhood. You know what the bank approved you for. The question is whether you know the 30-year cost of the gap between that number and what your household actually needs, and whether you have a plan for where that difference is going.